Hi, y'all. It's Bridget Cutshaw with Real Things Living. Today, my guest is Milena Regos, and she is the founder of the Unhustle Movement. She is trying to help people realize things are what's important in life and not to burn yourself out. Can you say hi, Milena?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Super excited.
Well, I'm glad you're here because what you're doing is an important thing to bring up. And because we all work so hard and just push and push and push ourselves, and it affects every aspect of our life. Can you tell me what happened, your background, why you decided to do this Unhustle movement?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to hustle a lot in my previous life. I had a long, successful marketing career, specifically in digital marketing. And especially in the marketing world, in that industry, there's a lot of pressure to perform, to be always on, always connected, spending a lot of time on social media. And I was fortunate enough that I worked with some amazing clients, a lot of them actually in the wellness industry. I worked with some celebrities, and there was a lot of pressure coming at me from all places. One is culture, one is our collective bias that we need to be constantly working in order to be successful. One was all the demands that I was putting on myself as to what I have to do, I must do. I always need to better myself. I always need to be online, guilt and shame if I'm not working. So what happened is at some point in time, my health started to deteriorate. My relationships were non-existent with my friends. My marriage started to kind of get a little um, losing its fame
Right.
because all I did was work and I was never really present. And all of this led for me to reconsider, what does really success look like? How do I define success for myself? And it
Right.
really wasn't until I went on a 10-day digital detox, which turned out to be a digital detox trip to Baja California Sur in Mexico, where I was able to reconnect with myself and my values. And what do I really want? What is my bigger purpose in life? And it wasn't on that trip that I came up with the idea for Unhustle, but on that trip, I decided that I wanted to change my life and I wanted to have a lot more purpose, a lot more intention. I wanted to slow things down and I wanted to create something that has a lot more meaning for humanity, that drives me, and at the same time create a financially stable life for myself. So I signed up with the Human Potential Coaching Institute in an effort to upgrade my mind and body. I started a 8-week mindfulness program, which I'm continuing to this day. And somewhere in the midst of that program, my idea for Hustle came because the worst possible advice entrepreneurs are given over and over and over again is to work all the time and to hustle all the time. It's in our culture. We're glorifying busy, we're glorifying this 24/7 constant work, when in reality it leads to burnout, it leads to dissatisfaction, it's a big disillusionment, it's a lie.
Yeah.
And I am standing up all against that and trying to change our work culture and trying to get into more of a mindful, intentional living with purpose and high impact, which turns out scientifically proven that really is the only way to tap into high performance. So on hustle, for Unhustle, a lot of people think, oh, it's slowing down. Oh, it's taking time off. Oh, it's taking time away from work, when in reality, you need all of these things in order to be in high performance and in a state of flow so
Right.
that you can live a high flow life.
Gotta definitely take a break. And I remember reading Ariana Huffington's book. I can't remember the title of it, but
Thrive.
when I was Thrive, yes, I was reading it when I was going through cancer treatment the last time. I'm like, it would just hit me as well. You know, even though I had cancer, I knew that was a sign. Well, I needed to slow down as well. The corporate culture and crazy traveling and all these deadlines and blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, just take a break, take a breather. And that was really helpful. And I think her perspective. I think she wrote that because I think she was getting burnt out too.
Yeah, her story, and I'm glad you mentioned that book because I also read it somewhere in that journey because you start well, and you and I talked about this, right? You've obviously experienced a very similar journey with some. Mine wasn't as harsh in terms of health
Right.
issues as yours, but at the same time, my mom passed away from ovarian cancer at the age of 54. My dad passed at the age of 64 from a broken heart. So it was really in my face what it means to, you know, take how short a life can be. And so Ariana Huffington's story is that she was working crazy long hours in order to build the Huffington Post, and then one day went to the office and collapsed and hit her chin on the
Yeah.
corner of the desk and woke up in a pool of blood. And she went to explore what might be wrong with her with the doctors, and it was really sitting in doctors' rooms that she decided that what she was doing wasn't exactly driving her anymore, and there was a lot more meaning for her as well. So she started Thrive Global. So yeah, she's very inspirational in that, and a big voice for going against
Norm.
the culture of overwork and burnout.
Right. And I think we did touch on this last time we talked, being women too. We are expected to just do more anyway. Is that right? For some reason in our doesn't matter what culture, but in every culture.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends, right? It's a case by case basis. So I can't speak for all the women out in the world, but I know in my case, and I have an extremely supportive husband, and he tries to help, but at the same time, still somehow it's still up to me to make dinner. He helps, he cooks, and he does the dishes, so that's part of dinner, right? But I still have to come up with the idea, come up with the groceries, and then say this is what we're having. Now I don't have children, so I know it's a whole different story when you have children, but I don't have children probably for that reason, because I didn't have my mom to come and help, and my husband, he's also from Australia, so his parents live far away. So for us, and I didn't want to just have children and put them in
Daycare, right?
yeah, daycare. I didn't think that was fair to them. So that would have meant for me, I would have had to maybe stop working to raise my children. And so for those of us who feel very driven by career and needing the financial rewards that come with that career, financially, it didn't make sense to me that much to do that. And so I opted for not having children. But at the same time, I wouldn't also put that as a requirement, right, for having children. But in my case, that was the case because I'm a first generation immigrant and I am by myself in America, and I don't have the outside help that my parents had, who were living in a more closer knit society in Bulgaria. So I think there's a lot to be said about your support system around you. And if you're by yourself, it's hard to do everything on your own.
Yes, it definitely is. And that's something I learned too, going through what I've dealt with, is you got to have support. And it just helps you deal. And I did have my sister around to help my husband, but I think back what I did, I was traveling. I was never.
You were never home. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's terrible, but I was one that was making a lot of money. Right. And that's kind of
right. The golden handcuffs.
Yeah. You had to do that. And then funny story real quick. I had a call one time from they were going to like preschool for like a couple hours a week per day. And one of them called me and said my son had pooped in his pants. And I'm like, what can I do? I said, I'm in New York or something like that. So I felt really guilty. I would have loved to have gone over there but it's funny when I think about it. But my kids were really good. They had a really good close relationship with their father. So that helped, having that relationship with your husband. You got to have the support from each other. And so you're unhustling. So you had a marketing company, right? So that was on your own, right?
Yeah. Well, at some point in time, I worked for a large corporation. I was a marketing director for a ski resort for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And for all the recreational facilities that came with it. So I was in corporate America. It was a quasi-government agency. And I was getting really paid really well and had the healthcare and the benefits and the retirement plan. And so that is a really critical point for a lot of people who might be listening to this. When you're in that corporate environment and then you might be thinking, oh, I want to start my own thing, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of uncertainty that comes with it to make that jump, right? And then I started my marketing agency, and that went really well. Social media was picking up a lot, and I've been doing online marketing since '96. I had to explain to people how to spell Google with parties. So, digital marketing is something I know and have been doing for a while. So it was fairly easy for me to start that agency. I grew it to where I had about 10 people working for me. And at some point in time, though, I realized that that I'm still on the hamster where I would try to get new clients, to hire more employees, to get more clients, to hire more employees, and it's never ending. So when I decided to downsize, I started more just doing freelance work, realizing I was doing I was making more money than having the team. And that went well for a while. And then eventually I just seeked a lot more purpose in my life because there's a lot of I love marketing, and there's a lot of good that can be done with marketing. And then at the same time, you can also manipulate behavior. And as we know from movies like The Social Dilemma, I knew how to play the algorithms. I knew what I could do with the algorithms, let's say on Facebook or on Instagram. And part of me didn't drive with that. Part of my values weren't really necessarily aligned with that, even though I was promoting companies that were very meaningful in the world. So I decided that I needed to dig deeper and really discover my soul purpose and discover my passion and curiosity and find out what am I really about. And when you start to look at it that way, there's a lot of values that come from childhood. And a lot of mine are aligned with health and wellness and lifestyle design and freedom. And so I decided to build something that allows me to have all of these things while helping people discover what drives them and create a life that they're in love with while doing high impact work without burning out. And that really, really resonated with me. And that's why I made the switch. So that's what happened. That's how Unhustle was born.
I really like that you're trying to do the right thing and you're speaking up and you're being honest about, what happened. It is very, very stressful. Life in general is, but I think it's helpful to be present in the right moment, right? And does that make sense? And that's what you're doing. And it's just amazing how there's so much, like you mentioned, the marketing stuff. I'm like, there's like, I have a marketing degree too. So I understand what you're talking about. And I think that's kind of why I'm doing my own thing too. Right. I feel better and I can make my own decisions.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to be said about having autonomy and having passion, having purpose. All of these things are actually key elements to getting into flow, which is what Unhustle is really all about, is creating high flow, living high flow working. So when you have clear goals and when you have the grit and the motivation, and you have curiosity and passion and purpose, all of these things trigger flow. Now, flow, for those of you who don't know what flow is basically a state of where you feel your best and you perform your best. So let's say if you think of like reading a book, like reading a really book, and you lose sense of time, or you lose, or maybe time just goes by really fast, and you don't even know what happened. You've been so lost in reading that book. Or like, let's say you're on vacation and the day goes by so quickly, right? Where it tends to drag at work. So that's what flow is. And the whole framework for Unhustle is ultimately to bring people into feeling more in flow at all times.
I like
that's where actually well-being and happiness and fulfillment, all of them lie.
I like that feeling and flow. It is. You're not. It just reduces your stress. And I love reading a book. I like that example that you gave. You just kind of get lost in it. It's really helpful, and you're learning, and that's what it is. As we get older, we're learning and we try to adjust. That's kind of what, I mean, I just thank God that social media was not around when I was a teenager, or younger, because gosh only knows what I, said and did, but do you think because of you think social media amplifies stress? I'm just curious on
Oh,
that.
absolutely. I don't think there's a lot of studies that show
Yeah,
that. If you there's so many. I mean, and I've looked into all the research. I started looking into the research while I was still doing social media because I was also addicted to social media. I was
right.
doing it for my clients, and I was spending so much time on all the channels, bouncing back and forth between Canada and Australia, and
Wow.
somewhere in between. And I was on all these social media platforms, so all my clients, which also meant that I would be constantly I my focus and attention got completely distracted. I couldn't hold an attention for more than 10 minutes. I couldn't actually sit down to read a book because my mind would immediately trigger me to go and check something on social media. So now we start to get into the biology of things, and I'm building on hustle based on science-based data and neuroscience. And so when you start looking into actually what happens in the brain, we're seeking dopamine.
Right.
And so we're constantly refreshing the feeds or checking our emails because we get quick dopamine hits based on that. So long term, but dopamine would be if you sit down to work on a long term project, but your mind doesn't want that because you're seeking short term rewards. So it's absolutely addictive. It creates FOMO, which stands for fear of missing out. Creates mental health problems. It creates isolation, and you don't even need to look into all this research. Just go on Google and type in "Instagram makes me feel," and you know how Google populates kind of like what people normally ask, and
Mhm.
you'll see things like sad, lonely, as if I'm not enough,
Mhm.
unhappy. So, and I'm not singling out any one social media platform, but I believe there is good and there is bad from social media. And I believe as long as you use it with intention, and as long as it enriches your life, and as long as you're aware of how much time you're spending on it and what's the reason you're going on it, I think social media is brilliant. Where I don't agree with things is that companies are using neuroscience to make it addictive. And we as individuals need to be aware of this, and we need to know when to put the brakes. But it's really hard because in reality, your brain is being manipulated. And so being aware of it would be the first step to to know when to say enough, or to do certain settings on your phone. I actually have a blog post on my website that people can find, and it's about how to change your iPhone settings so that you're not as triggered by all the things that are happening on your phone. Things like turning off notifications, or making or putting certain notification websites at the end of your screen, so you actually have to scroll, which just gives you a few seconds to get mindful, like, what am I doing, why am I doing it for, right? So there are ways that you can regain your focus and regain your attention, which I see is the biggest issue right now. Is how do you manage your attention? How do you control your attention? And I think the people that learn how to control their focus and their attention are going to be the ones that win.
Right. I knew our iPad, I think a year ago or 18 months ago, and I made sure there were zero social media apps on there because I didn't, if it's there, I might click on it. I only got the iPad to read some ebooks. That was the only reason I got it, or to check my email if I was traveling without packing up my laptop before COVID happened. Right. But mentioning books, I know you said you're writing a book right now. So
Yes.
that's cool. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I'm writing a book right now, which I hope to be released this year, later in fall. And the whole idea for the book is to share my journey, but also use examples from other people who have gone down that path, and give people a clear framework, and some things to explore if they're struggling with the same thing, so that they can take their lives back and figure out a healthier, happier, more fulfilling way of living. So the book is going to be 7 sections with 4 or 5 chapters under each. I'm envisioning it a very quick, easy read with a lot of storytelling and just a little bit of how-tos to give people an idea as to what they can do.
I think the stories also help people convey, you can feel the emotion there and connect possibly. That's really helpful. And I know you, are you going to be doing, like on your website, I checked it out. Are you doing coaching, or are you going to have other people help you coach to get this culture, this movement going?
I currently coach people. I work with people one-on-one. I do company trainings. I do corporate, I have a group coaching program. I just finished today a 7-week life training program.
Oh, wow.
I did a coaching call today with somebody. So I love all of it. And I'm looking at launching a community for Unhustle to give people a very affordable way to get in, connect with like-minded people, and learn from each other, and as well as inviting guest speakers who can speak on various topics. We just had a neuroscientist from the Haas Business School from University of Berkeley come and talk about how to protect your focus and how to manage your time better. It was a phenomenal talk. And like last week, I had a doctor who came to talk about how prescribing creativity to prevent burnout is a way she treats. She works with people in the medical profession, but also in general, just creativity for burnout. So I'm tapping into other people's resources. I've spoken with a lot of people on my own podcast, and now I'm going to upload some of these interviews as well in the community to give people a way to explore more. And that's kind of what I have planned.
Right. It's really good though. It's a purpose. You've learned, took what you learned, your experiences, and trying to help other people. And I think it's awesome between the book. There's different, you're creating different formats for people to reach out to you, a book, and then you have a podcast, like you mentioned, and then you have your coaching. And I think it's awesome. And I am so for this because it is so helpful and so much needed. And I love your voice. It's different. It's really great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Where else we can, where I know you have a website called unhustle.com. Where else can people find you?
Yeah, everything is on my website. I'm keeping things simple. So unhustle.com, they can connect with me from there. I have a free ebook that people can download, which is at unhustle.com/ebook, which gives them 7 stories and 7 superpowers of people who are implementing the Unhustle philosophy, with follow-up podcast interviews if they want to dig deeper into that, with some really, really great names in there, like Carl Honoré and Andrew Barnes. So some pretty interesting people on there. And there's a free stress audit quiz on the website as well. If somebody's feeling stressed out, they can take the quiz and they'll get some specific recommendations. So everything is at unhustle.com, and they can connect with me from there.
That's awesome. And I'm going to go download your free ebook to help me unhustle.
Let me know which of the stories and which of the superpowers resonates with you the most. I can guess. I think I can guess, but I'm gonna let you let me know.
Feedback later, not live.
Yes, let me know.
It's so good what you're doing. I really, truly.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Bye.